everybody, and welcome to the Good Book Life. I'm Donna Scott, and I am joined once again for a bookish chat by three wonderful authors. We welcome back Helen Stroud, and we also have Valeriya Salt and Helen Cooper. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
And this week's bookish chat is piracy, book piracy. Why it's not just stealing books.
Hi, I'm Helen Cooper. I'm an author of psychological thrillers. I have 5 books out with Hodder, and most recently, The Woman in the Villa, which I have here.
Hi everybody, I'm Alan Stroud. I'm a university researcher and writer. I write science fiction, and let's see if we can get this right. That way, there we go. So my latest book is Anti-State, which came out earlier this year, and is set in the 22nd century in a colony on Mars.
Hi everybody, my name is Valeriya Salt. I am a sci-fi and thriller author from Sheffield, and I have a debut novel published by local for Sheffield publisher, Unorthodox Press. It's called Dive Beyond Eternity. Yeah, I hope you can see it. It's, for some strange reason, it's not in focus. The focus is blurred. Yeah, and it's a nautical sci-fi thriller set in the north of England and partly in the North Sea as well. So yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so I have some questions for you about book piracy, and I'm not sure about you guys. I know that some of my books that I've edited have been pirated. Is book piracy something that affects you? I'll start with Valeriya.
You know, I don't know whether it affects me directly, because I never could understand how people even know that their books pirated or not. You know, how do they even find out about that? You know, unless somebody come to them and say, "Oh, I saw your book on some pirate site." But what are the sites? Yeah. Also, I guess it applies only only to ebooks and maybe audiobooks. I'm not sure about that. But whatever it's applied to paperbacks, for example, I'm not sure. I don't think you can pirate somehow paperback. So it hasn't sort of influenced me yet, impacted me yet. But who knows? I may not know, because I also write not only novels, I write short stories, and they've been published in different anthologies. So maybe these anthologies get pirated. I don't know. And again, we need to remember about a massive rise of AI, and there all this big deal going on around AI, and how AI actually pirating books, the whole books, or just parts of the books. So yeah, it's not an easy question, but I think it can affect every author at any time of their career, and they may not even know about it. So yeah.
Yes, definitely. So as Valeriya said, probably lots that I don't know about, but there's certainly some that have come to my attention. There was one in particular that was weird, a site, I think it was last year, that came to a few authors' attention, where they were actually being quite blatant about it and almost acting like they were doing a good thing, like a service to reading or something, and advertising this site where they had all these free books on there. And then lots of authors got wind of it and sort of said, hang on, these books are up there illegally, you haven't paid for these. And lots of people just basically wrote to the person that was running the site and said, please take these books down. And I think eventually the site folded. But yeah, it was a bit crazy. And I'm sure there's more.
Yeah. Alan?
So there's a couple of things here. Firstly, just to respond to Valeriya's point about how you can find out. The Atlantic, the American news organization, published a query list that you can use against the LibGen database. So the majority of book piracy is coming through LibGen. LibGen is the sort of the source, the search code that most people put in. the URLs are taken down. libgen.com will obviously be blocked by most places, but then it will come up as libgen.io or libgen.ms or something like that. So essentially, it redirects its URL every time.
Okay.
So if you are looking to try and find where books are pirated, then that's usually where they exist. Now, what the Atlantic did is the Atlantic published a query system on their website that allowed you to search the LibGen database for your own work. So I found 16 of my books on their list.
Wow. Yeah, that's useful to know.
Yeah, so it's very, very, very straightforward, and you can find the Atlantic article still online. Now, that was also the basis for the legal action against Anthropic. So when they were doing the court case, they were using the the investigative journalism of the Atlantic, and also a query database that they worked out. Now, I subsequently discovered by querying my publishers, one of which is Bloomsbury, that my work had been added to the LibGen database in 2023, whereas the copy that had been taken to train Claude, the Anthropic AI, was taken in 2021. So it meant that I wasn't, there were no damages for me from the class action lawsuit, even though, obviously there's still a little bit of a grey area over whether those damages are being assigned just to American writers or to international writers. The other point I would just quickly make with regard to piracy is there are also spoof sites that basically scrape the queries that they are given. So I've seen this happen several times. This is when somebody finds a website, an author finds a website, they tap their name into the website, and the website scrapes the internet for the cover of the work that they've tapped in, and they then show it back to them on a immediately designed page. So what this is it's actually not a website where piracy is occurring. It is a website where the author is basically putting the information in, and they are reflecting it back to the author and then trying to get them to pay something or do something to get it taken down. So it's not actually legit. It's not actually piracy in per se, but what it's trying to do is it's trying to generate that kind of hysteria, so that people then kind of go back to it. And I've seen that happen 3-4 times now. So it's worth bearing that in mind if you're a writer and you're looking for these things, and suddenly there's a whole bunch of people going, look, my book's on there, you should search yours. Actually, when you add it in, that's adding it to their list.
I never even heard about it, to be fair. New scam. Something new every time. Yeah,
absolutely.
You live, you learn. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking about the Anthropic case, I noticed that one of the latest news articles says that they did win on fair use for training its LLMs, but they did lose on building a central library of pirated books. So that's the thing. It's one of those things. Is like I don't see how they can actually do fair use training using pirated books, because the pirated books themselves are not legal. So where does this leave them?
It's not quite. I don't think that's quite exactly what they won on. So what they did do, one of their practices was to basically buy books secondhand and from all sorts of different places, cut them to bits. So they were stripping all the covers off, they were taking everything else off, and then they had an automated scanning system that they were scanning the books through. So using physical copies. So I'm fairly sure that what's going on here is that they're being held to account on the pirated works, but they're not being held to account on anything that they got physical books for, and they basically wrecked. Now, what my view is, and we may come on to this a little bit later, but my view is that training an AI is different to reading. It's processing. So actually, if I'm a writer and I've got a contract, I want to have a processing clause and to the general public author reading, clause. So I get the choice to be able to say, tick, I am allowing an AI to train using this data, but that use is not fair use. It's not reading. it's not, it's in the public domain, or I bought a copy of the book, so I should be allowed to use it any way I want. No, if you're using it for training data, that is a different process, and that's how I see it, and that's how I'd like to see that legislated on going forwards. But who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, I remember being as a student, we had to, we were told about fair use quite a lot. I'm going back a long, long time, but you work in a university now. You work in a university now. And is it the same? Is it, because I had that magic 20% figure in my head as to what I was allowed to quote or use, and the rest of it had to be my own arguments and things like that.
Honestly, if you quoted 20% of a book in an essay, it wouldn't be much of an essay.
No.
It just whoa, and she said this, and he said that.
I swear.
But no, it usually, I mean, the clauses are a little bit more subtle these days. It's not necessarily down to straight percentages. What you would suggest is it for the purpose of review? Is it for the purpose of criticism? Is it for the purpose of comedy? There are a variety of different sort of clauses that you can suggest under, and you see quite a lot, because we should be thinking about texts as texts. They're not just books. You see quite a lot that YouTube has obviously a set of guidance that it produces based on people having sections of a film or sections of a TV program. They're being quite careful in terms of allowing reaction videos, for example, to use too much of the material or such. So yeah, there's a variety of different ways, and usually it's kind of common sense-ish. The only issue in universities really is that in universities what they were doing is they were using checkers that would tell you if a large amount of the source came from X or came from Y. So a plagiarism checker. The problem with the majority of those plagiarism checkers is AI just does not they can't detect AI as well as they could detect if something had previously been used, because it's quite a simple system. If it's previously been used, it'd be in the database. So oh yeah, there it is, and so on and so forth. Whereas AI is obviously generating text based off of something that that's been taken, so it's more difficult. And that's the crisis in universities, but that's a whole different topic. So yeah.
What happens when these books get pirated? So clearly there is an end market for piracy, and I can't get my head around this with the cheapness that you can actually have with books these days. Some books you can get them to read them for free. Some authors give away books. You can always go to a charity shop and get books. So it's not like books themselves are,
libraries,
a fair resource.
Libraries, first of all, yeah.
The library. So I'm really curious as to think, like, what would make somebody choose to get a pirated copy of a book. So what do we think is going on there? Helen, what do you think is going on?
Well, I think some of the excuses that people use is stuff like, oh, I couldn't find it somewhere else, or I could only find an expensive copy of that particular one, or things like that. But to be honest, like you say, there's libraries. That is exactly why we have libraries, and you can order any book. You can request any book to be got in by your local library. And like you said, there's subscription services like Kindle Unlimited and things like that. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just kind of laziness, like you can search the internet and then you find this book and it's free and you can download it and you think, yeah, great, and you don't really think about the fact that it is stealing or what. And then there's obviously a lot of books getting uploaded to sort of social media sites, and people kind of setting up accounts that are just this, basically, so like free books, and then people following along thinking, yeah, this is great, I suppose. And again, not really thinking about the fact that if you love reading and enough to kind of join a site that's giving away free books, then you should be supporting authors and making sure authors are actually getting a cut, and publishers as well. And a lot of, I hear things, I've seen people saying things like, oh, we're just taking money from big publishers and things like that, but they're taking money from authors, and if not all publishers are big publishers as well. And there's so much, like you, Donna, there's so much that you're up against anyway, but without also having to kind of compete with book piracy sites.
Yeah, teeny tiny here, but I don't even think like some of the majors could would be very happy with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Valeriya, what do you think?
I think there are a few things here you can think of. First of all, I think these people just don't understand, because they're not in this business. They are not authors themselves. Otherwise, they would have done it, right? They're not book bloggers or editors or cover designers. They do not understand how much time, efforts, money, sweat and tears, blood, sweat and tears, authors and publishers, especially small publishers, small indie publishers, but big publishers as well, pouring into it, how much time it takes to write a book, and then let alone edit, produce it, design it, and publish it. They don't know it, and hence they can't appreciate it, right? They just think that books are so expensive, especially, I don't know, audiobooks or paperbacks or hardcovers, because publishers just want to grab money, right? This is, I think, one thing. And second thing, I read actually pretty recently on one of the social medias a massive big quarrel, if you wish. A person put online my humble opinion or my unpopular opinion, whatever. Book pirating is okay because I live in a small town. I don't have public library, and I'm from kind of low social background. I don't have a job as such. I can't afford to buy books, and the nearest library is such like miles and miles and miles away from the place where I live. Hence, the only way is pirating books. Which is not really true, because as Helen said, there are lots of opportunities to get books any other way rather than to drive to a library. And this person starts to say that, oh, I don't drive and we don't really have a good public transport connections. I don't know where this person was from. I don't think it was UK. I think maybe America, maybe somewhere else in the world. I don't know. But they start to kind of justify this statement that they live so far, they don't drive, they don't have good public transport, they can't afford books. But some books, ebooks, cost less a cup of coffee. We know that. Lots of authors and publishers offer them even for free, just for a review or just like a part of their marketing campaign. Yeah. As Helen said, there are lots of opportunities on Kindle Unlimited. Some authors make them free ever so often. End of day, it applies only for paperbacks, but if you have friends, they may read books, obviously, and may they give paperback to you to read and to return. Yeah. In my city, in Sheffield, there are lots of like small indie cafes and even beauty salons which offer free books just for their clients. They are secondhand. Some of them new, some of them secondhand. To be fair, I donated one of my copies to one of the salons like that. They have a couple of shelves somewhere in the background, so clients can read, sit, wait for their appointment and read, or bring their book and kind of exchange, these book exchange things. So yeah, I just can't see the whole point of pirating if you can get it for very little money, or even for free, or borrow it. Yeah.
So, Alan, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think, we're talking essentially about the kind of cultural context, really, where an individual has already made that decision. There's no element of where if they've gone online to justify their decision, they're not going to change their mind. They're not engaging in a conversation that they feel that they're going to learn anything and discover some sort of newfound morality for the context of writers. Essentially, I think in part we're not real people, so we're not a real victim. That is the name on the cover, the name on the stuff is kind of when it's challenged, and when a writer says, "Hey, you stole my stuff," or you pirated my work. There really isn't an excuse, and so then it becomes about kind of evasion, and it becomes a kind of justification of different things, because we aren't real people to them in the point where they want something. And you can kind of think about it a little bit in terms of other circumstances where people look for something for free. I was trying to fix a phone last night. I was trying to download some software to fix that phone. That software is open source, so I could find it, I could use it, I could get it. But obviously, I was going there before I was going to go to anywhere that I was going to pay for some kind of software. Now, people have put effort into that. They've put a lot of work into creating diagnostic tools and other bits and pieces, and actually, when you think about that. When you think about reading the Guardian articles, and the little pop-up comes at the bottom and says, "Hey, we're still free. You should donate to us." Or Wikipedia, the amount of use that people make of Wikipedia. Those are all cultures where the material has become free at the point of use, and we don't have that is quite natural to us, and so it is only the case that that there are other individuals in the world where this is quite natural to them, and they have made that decision, and they've already made it. It doesn't matter that our books are less than a coffee at a good coffee shop, or I hate coffee, so it doesn't matter to me. But that actually that decision's already been made. So in part you're not going to unmake that decision. What has to happen is there needs to be circumstances where that decision, is no longer possible, or that there are consequences to that decision. I have a lovely question I used to ask students, which was when we were looking at fantasy societies, and we're talking about the basis of law. And I'd say to them, right, why don't we kill people? And I'd always say to them, if anyone in here is going to raise their hand and give me the answer because we get caught, I'm really worried. If anyone else says, "Oh, because it's wrong, because of this, because of this, because of that," that's fine. Those are good answers. But if you're not murdering people because you get caught, I am really concerned for you, right? But there is a parallel to be drawn here. There is an activity where the choice has already been made, and if you're not going to get caught, you're not going to have, that becomes a reason to, to just carry on, frankly.
Do you think that? I actually think that people have books to thank for that attitude, because they read a lot of crime and the criminals always get caught in the books. Well,
very good.
Yeah.
Maybe
Very
less
good.
So, people do have this kind of like entitlement they feel. So a lot of people feel this entitlement, but the rest of us don't, and we don't do that because we feel, that we want to support authors. We don't mind getting a free book every now and then. My Kindle is stuffed with loads of free books. I got one yesterday. Looking forward to reading it. But I also bought another one for 99p today. So I'm like, it's only 99p. I'm rolling in money. What can I say? Do you think the pricing drives any of this at all? Because sometimes like a new ebook can cost almost as much as a new paperback. So I've seen some of the argument sometimes that ebooks are too expensive, but there is a reason, isn't there, that why ebooks do have a price attached to them? Helen, you are nodding.
No, I totally agree. I think the thing is, people think, yeah, it's just an ebook, there's no costs involved, but there's been a lot of time involved and a lot of people's effort. The author, the editor, the copy editor, the proofreader, absolutely loads of people, the marketers. So it's all of that's gone into it. You're not just buying the kind of the words that appear on your Kindle. And yeah, some ebooks can be quite expensive when they first come out, but there's so many offers all the time that if you think I really want that ebook but I can't afford it, you can. There's other ways. You can just wait. I think going to then to look straight away for a pirated copy is slightly odd, because if you want that book that much that's just come out, then likely it is because you love that author and you think, I want this new book from this author, but the ebook's really expensive at the moment, so I'll go and look for a copy to steal instead, and potentially harm that author's career, rather than perhaps wait till the price comes down a bit, or look for another way to read it, or just pay it because you really do love the author and want to support them. So again, I don't think it's really an excuse, and you wouldn't do it for lots and lots of other things. You wouldn't sort of expect to walk out without paying for a haircut or anything, but people kind of do with books.
Pirate haircuts, everybody.
Yeah. So I'm
Cut and run,
a different
you know?
thing, yeah.
Yeah, and just run as fast as you can.
There's
Yeah.
lots of braids and backcombing, isn't it?
Yeah. Johnny Depp.
So there is an emotional cost to this as well, isn't there? How does it feel to know that books are being pirated and that you've got very little control over it, especially when you have like Anthropic and the like, sort of like using those databases to scrape your work?
So there were two instances where this sort of became very apparent for me. One was some years ago. So I just take us back very slightly in what Helen was saying about the exclusivity and the kind of margins of a new work. So I compose music, and years ago we had the Napster situation, and the Napster situation, much as it was illegal, it was also hitting at an industry that had inflated the cost of CD production. So essentially, we've seen a massive reduction in the cost of music because of those circumstances. Now, Napster weren't doing the right thing. They were invalidating people's copyrights by what they were doing. But we did see a change in an industry that inflated those costs, and that's not the case here. This isn't an industry where there is a massive profit being generated, in those circumstances. So the reason I bring that example up is I once took a CD of my music to a place I worked at, and a work colleague was in the office, and I said, oh yeah, doing this, doing that, and we got talking about music, and I said, oh yeah, I've composed these, and yeah, do you want to have a listen while I'm blah 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 blah? And he went, yeah, that'd be great, and so he put it on, and off he went, off I went to do stuff. I came back and I said, oh yeah, can I take the CD back? I'm heading home. He said, oh yeah, I've copied them.
Which is not what you said you could do.
Excuse me? Right? So you just copied my work off of the CD tape? Yeah, so I can... so that was really blatant. And, and obviously then I think he kind of, by looking at me and looking at the look on my face, went, maybe I didn't do that right. But that was, that was back in the early 2000s. So, of course, the culture difference, you've still, at that point, Napster possibly is around, or BitTorrent, is kind of a thing. The file sharing sort of, whoever we're nicking these films off, they don't care, blah, 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 So then the more recent example, this was last year, we were at, Emma Newman and I were doing a cybersecurity workshop at a university research group in Bristol. And the first day of that, they had an address from some of the PhD students who were part of the research group and sort of leading it, and they had a lead PhD student, whoever it was, and he put his hand up and said, "How many of all of you are using AI?" Of course, it's all of you, isn't it? And Emma and I were just looking at each other and going, "No," and watching this room sort of talking about the way in which AI was absolutely central to what they were doing, and absolutely the way to go forwards, and and it was embedded in it. Everybody was using it, and this, that, and the other, and it was all an assumption, in terms of what was there. And so we were running the second day of this conference as a creative writing workshop to show how writing methods can be used in cybersecurity and in other infrastructures. And so we went away and rewrote some of our work to then come down and make the point to them that actually some of the the AIs that they are using, the chat GTPs, the Claudes of this world, this is what they're based on. And these are the lives, these are the human lives of the individuals of the tool that you just don't think about you're using. These are the human lives of the individuals who are behind it. In terms of the content that is theirs that has then been used to train these tools, and we just wanted them to acknowledge the human, exploitation element of that, so that there wasn't this kind of, and forgive me for saying it, but it was slightly naive, it was slightly uninformed, the statement from these young students. And I just felt that it was necessary to be able to push back in a careful way and say, hey, there are real people being affected. You need to understand that.
Yeah, and I can't recommend Feeding the Machine enough. That's a book about the human lives behind AI. So it involves like audio narrators who've had their voices stolen,
Yeah.
but also data analysts working in Kenya and Uganda who are, very highly educated, but they are being paid a pittance to check the work and do moderating for the big companies. And it's a lot. It's a lot. Anyway, piracy. As we are going to basically bring the conversation to a close, what can we do to encourage people to be more ethical when it comes to book consumption? Do you think there's anything that we can do, or are we flogging a dead horse?
Well, it's a difficult question, obviously, because there is no even legislation around AI and training AI yet. Yeah, quite clear. It's all very murky. We're still floating in very, very murky waters in a very gray area. But already big corporations making money out of it, yeah, and making money basically out of us, of indie authors and indie publishers, yeah. And I guess it's even more difficult with individuals because, as Alan said, that some individuals, lots of them, many of them, already made their choice, and they not even made their choice. They already proclaimed it loudly and proudly on social media probably as a stance, as look at me, a bit of to create a bit of reaction, yeah. So they're not going to change their minds. So yeah, we can lower the cost of our books, we can give them for free, but I think that unfortunately for some people it's already embedded in their kind of mind, yeah. And yeah, we can't do much about it. So to be fair, I think we need to focus more on people who still buying our books and still supporting publishers and authors, and promote more the understanding of how difficult and how long it takes, yeah, how difficult to write a book, let alone to get it published. Yeah, so I think this is the way. So yeah, this is my opinion.
Okay, great. Helen?
Yeah, I do think it's tricky because I think the industry is already doing quite a lot in order to make sure books are more accessible than ever in a way, in lots of different formats and at different price points. But the same thing that kind of allows that to happen in terms of the digital market now for books is allowing plagiarism, is allowing piracy to grow, and it is growing year on year despite that. And there's not a lot that can be done about that in terms of changing people's mind, as Valeriya and Alan have just said, I don't think. Beyond doing things like this, in terms of actually trying to make people see the people behind what they're doing, I think there could be tighter legislations and just targeting the sites that are actually doing it, and just closing them down is the only way, so that it's not actually possible, so that people, like you say, if they're going to make that choice, it's much harder for them to make that choice and find those illegal books.
Yeah. Okay, Alan?
So I think you've got to engage with any consultations and any legislative processes that are being advertised. So to start with, if the Society of Authors is asking people what they think about something relating to either plagiarism or data scraping or something relating on this area, then it's important to engage with it. If there are government consultations, it's important to engage with it. If there's a work consultation, which there was one at mine about a week ago, it's important to engage with it and to recognize that, we have different views in terms of what's there. I think living communities are really important too, where authors talk to each other and kind of help each other out. That's crucial, sharing information, knowing, that something happens, the way it happens, and how you might be, sort of seeing it wrongly in some particular way, or engaging with it in a way, and what have you. The spate of the emails that we're all getting at the moment from people who claim to have read our work and how amazing it is, and we know they're all generated and they're all kind of the same theme, and they're actually the most disrespectful things ever, because what they're doing is showing a lack of respect for even reading somebody's work and then trying to have a personal relationship with them, which is really weird. So we've got to kind of help. We've got to kind of help each other. We've got to kind of help each other and support each other in that regard. Cory Doctorow's worth reading at the moment. He's writing incredible stuff on where he sees things are going in the current circumstances and situation. So I'd encourage anybody to read Cory Doctorow and just his non-fiction, his commentary on current tech, I think is crucial. But the more we sort of show ourselves as people, and this isn't an advocacy of, hey, we've all got to kind of get online as much as possible and and share as much of our lives as possible. It's not what I'm saying. But actually, the more we show ourselves as people, it could be that makes the difference, because then we're not this faceless name that is not a victim, is not a, as long as it feels like it's a victimless crime, then it remains a circumstance that people may not care about the fact that they're doing. So the more we kind of go, hey, no, come on, there are people that you're taking the livelihood away from, then maybe that's the answer.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Very much.
Okay, and finally, I would say, do you have anything that you're working on at the moment? Is there anything you would like to share with the listeners, stroke viewers? Valeriya, have you got any books that you would like to show? Or what are you working on right now?
Okay, I'm working right now on trying to find a good home for my second standalone novel. So this may come at some point. I don't know when. Definitely not this year, but maybe next year, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I'm also working on the short stories. And I'm also writing a sequel to Dive Beyond Eternity. So yeah, lots of work to do.
Great. Helen?
Yeah, so The Woman in the Villa has just come out about 3 weeks ago. So busy promoting that. Busy writing the next one, which is due in October, which is feeling, very tight. So yeah, I'm really head down working on that at the moment. Also just wanted to mention I've got a story in a brilliant new anthology that's coming out next Tuesday from Flame Tree Press called Best Served Cold. So it's crime stories on the theme of revenge, edited by Maria Regan and Paul Kane, and it's got some really, really good stories in it.
Oh, that sounds awesome. And Alan?
There's a lot going on. So Anti-State came out earlier this year. I'm working on the sequel to that, which is Praxis, which is at the moment, I'm about 64,000 words in now. So yeah, there's an update, Donna. Which is I've got a guy who's trying to make a more perfect society on Mars, and he's failing at the moment, which is, the crisis moment of the story. Later this year, I've got, or it might be the start of next year, Bloomsbury are publishing the Historical Dictionary of Science Fiction, which is where is it? That one. That's the fantasy one. The science fiction one's coming out soon, which is, again, Brian Stableford did them to start with, and then I've kind of done the new editions. I'm working on a set of board game projects, which is quite interesting. I'm doing the Blazing World anthology, which we're working on with which is Margaret Cavendish and a series of writers who are writing stories based and inspired by Margaret Cavendish. English Heritage partners on that with Flame Tree Press and with the BSFA. So we've got a lovely event at Bolsover Castle on the 1st of August where Juliet McKenna and I are going to be in attendance. So lots and lots of different projects going on at the moment, which means that my summer is not really a rest. But if I was a kid again, and somebody told me I'd have all these lovely creative projects to be able to do, then I would have snapped that person's hand off and said, "Feed me, Seymour, feed me." So yeah.
But also a castle actually not from far where I live, so I can.
Well, if you want to come and see,
it's literally 20 minutes, probably half an hour by car from Sheffield.
It's going to be amazing. It's a really, really amazing day. So it's on the 1st of August, and they're doing a huge set of exhibits. We are but one little cog in the wheel. There's a physical manifestation of Margaret Cavendish's brain. He's being shipped into the middle of Bolsover Castle.
Oh my God.
Sounds incredible. We had a meeting about it this morning to finalize some of the details, and it just, excited to just be a little part of it.
Cool. Sadly, I can't be there because I'm at an event in Leamington Spa. I'm at the Pump Rooms doing book extravaganza with the Slab Press, which will be awesome. Although Margaret Cavendish, I went to see an exhibition in Northampton Art Gallery, not the Art Gallery, the NN Art Gallery, a few years ago, where somebody had made an exhibition of Pip and Pop.
Wow.
Made of sweets. It's like an entire world made of sweets. It was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't know her work, it is well worth finding her work and just letting your mind be blown. She is quite something.
Okay, so I will be putting links to everything in the description under the video. So anything we've mentioned, I'll put a link to it there. In the meantime, it just leaves me to say thank you very much to my guests, Helen Cooper, Valeriya Salt, and Alan Stroud. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Yeah, thanks so much, Donna.
Thank you, folks.